guaranteed. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
We are Cars of the Macabre. That's Allie. I'm Helen. There's Goobs.
Like it.
Yeah, it's new.
Should we do that for any live shows?
I love that you're passing your cup
Well,
to not hit the mic.
I'm very clumsy.
I am.
There
babe.
would be an accident.
I am, babe.
Cause myself a mischief.
I'm really, really excited about today's case. So I'm going to jump straight into it.
Please do.
Because we've just done a spooky chat, so we've kind of caught up.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you?
That's absolutely fine. I mean, we're recording, 4 episodes today? I think we're going to run out of catch-up.
I'm going to apologise for my janky hair extensions. It was a bit of an afterthought, my hair today, so I just whacked them in, and it looks like I whacked them in, and I'm wearing a beanie. Sunglasses in my head, not sure why. It's dark outside, and I look like I'm going the rob again.
Yeah.
So,
it's a look.
It's something.
But it works.
Thanks, babe.
I'm always going to, I'm your...
We always big each other up.
Yeah, I'm your cheerleader.
We are our own cheerleaders. I love you.
I love you.
Oh, we love you too, Goobs. He's ignoring us.
Ghibli Jew.
So,
I don't know what that was.
what did you say?
Ghibli Jew.
Ghibli Jew.
Oh, it'd be Ghibli Goo, wouldn't it?
Ghibli Goo.
Ghibli Goo.
I don't know. He looks really puzzled.
Don't know.
Really,
It's another
confused.
like name to add to the list.
Yeah, that's it. It's like when your dogs end up having loads of nicknames.
Josh was never Josh in the end. He was just J-Man.
Oh, J-Man.
Yeah, J-Man. Oh, I just wanted to get him a little cape with a J on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss him.
We miss him too. He was so cute. Right. I'm going straight into this. So I've entitled this Cults, Road Trips and Heartbreak, The Tragic Death of River Phoenix. So I've always been really intrigued about the whole River Phoenix
Yeah,
thing.
and I'm interested to see where the link comes in with cars.
So there's a few little links throughout the story. They're not direct links, but they're enough that I feel it's relevant for Cars of the Macabre, otherwise I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, and you're the host and you drive a car.
Yes, and you're the host as well, and you drive a car.
Barely, but yeah.
So I'm going to start off by quoting River Phoenix. He famously said, "I don't want to die in a car accident. When I die, it'll be a glorious day. It'll probably be a waterfall."
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
specific.
I know, right? So I'm going to start off by telling you a bit about River Jude Phoenix, who was an American actor born on August 23rd in 1970. He actually starred in critically acclaimed films including Stand By Me,
Yeah.
The Mosquito Coast, Running on Empty, My Own Private Idaho, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and The Thing Called Love, to name a few. His movie list is very, very long. He did a lot.
Really good friends with Johnny Depp.
He was friends with Johnny Depp, yeah. Friends with loads of
Yeah.
people, which we will kind of go into because they are mentioned.
I'm just saying that because we love Johnny.
We do love Johnny. We really do love Johnny. So one of his most well-known roles was in the independent film My Own Private Idaho from 1991, which is a loose adaptation of William Shakespeare's Henry IV, starring River Phoenix as Mike Waters, a gay street hustler afflicted with narcolepsy, and Keanu Reeves as Scott Favor, who is also a hustler and the rebellious son of a mayor.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love how you say mare because it makes it sound like you're talking about a female horse.
Yeah.
Mayor?
There's that too. So the film centres around a road trip from Portland, Oregon to Idaho, then on to Rome, Italy, in search of Mike's mother. I'm not going to go into the film too much because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. And it is incredible, and I would definitely...
I haven't seen it.
You should definitely watch it. I'm not sure what it's available on at the minute.
It sounds quite niche.
It is. So like I said, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but I can say that it comes to an end on the highway in Idaho, which is just basically further evidence that this case is perfect for Cars of the Macabre. There are other links, but just the fact...
that brings in the pop culture side of what we like as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So My Own Private Idaho has become a cult classic, and it's considered a landmark film by New Queer Cinema, which was an early 90s movement in queer-themed independent filmmaking. And River Phoenix received several awards for his performance in the film, including the Volpe Cup for Best Actor, Best Male Lead from the Independent Spirit Awards, and Best Actor from the National Society of Film Critics. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. He's probably most famous for Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho, and I just thought that was very pertinent to our podcast. So going back to talking actually about River. So River Phoenix was born in Oregon. He was the oldest of 5 children. Rain, Joaquin, who was...
Joaquin.
What did I say? Joaquin. Joaquin. Oh my God, I'm really sorry. I'm the worst at this. Joaquin. Where did I get Joaquin from? That doesn't even spell...
I'm really trying not to swear. Joaquin. So British.
I'm sorry, this is just who I am as a person.
Joaquin.
I say Instagram and Freelander.
Joaquin.
How do you say it again? Joaquin. That's not how it's spelled. I've literally never known how to say it.
Do you pronounce the silent letters in words with silent letters?
I'm going to now.
Like knight.
I'm going to now, from now on, to prove my point. Anyway, Joaquin was actually formerly called Leaf. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. Oh. The first film we actually ever saw him in, Joaquin or Joaquin, however you want to say
Joaquin,
it.
but yeah.
Actually Joaquin, was Parenthood, the 90s film.
Yeah.
And he was referred to as Leaf in that. Oh. So I'm not actually sure when he changed it. But
that's interesting.
So there was also Liberty and Summer. His parents, Arlene Dunetz and John Lee Bottom, named him after the River of Life from the novel Siddhartha, and his middle name came from the Beatles song Hey Jude. His mother had grown up with Jewish parents, and his father was a lapsed Catholic.
It's very... Do you know what? They obviously weren't followers of, like, practising, because you don't imagine Jewish people or Catholics... I think they're more... of the children of the 60s names.
Definitely. So Arlen met John Lee while she was hitchhiking in California, and River described his parents as hippie-ish.
Yeah, I didn't want to say hippie-ish in case that offended people.
Well, he said it, so...
Okay.
And that was in an interview with People magazine. When River was very young, the family moved them across country, and River would often play the guitar whilst his sister sang on street corners for money and food to support the family. So he definitely started off living in what he described as a desperate situation.
Yeah. Oh, can I just interject?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix is a vegan.
Yeah. So's River, as I will go on to explain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Again, it's very much from their upbringing. So.
Oh, okay.
What was that?
Mark's shaking his head at me.
So River never actually attended a formal school. He was later described by screenwriter Naomi Foner as being, and I'm paraphrasing here, totally without education. He could read and write, but he had no deep roots in any kind of history or literature. In 1973, when River was 3 years old, the family joined the cult known as the Children of God.
Oh, no.
And they moved to Caracas in Venezuela, where the family worked as missionaries and fruit gatherers. So I have mentioned this cult before, but I'm actually going to give a brief interlude to tell people about the Children of God, because it's
a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. I mean, that is an episode in of itself, but I don't want to give it too much airtime, really. But so... The Children of God was a cult started by David Berg, who adopted the name of Moses David. He also gave himself the title of king, and he was known as Father David as well. So right from the get-go, you can kind of see what person this is. Initially, their message was all about salvation. I can't say this word. Apocalypticism. Apocalypticism, yes.
Well done. I think that's how it's said.
Spiritual, that's as good as it's going to get. Spiritual revolution and a distrust of the outside world, which its members called the system. Like many other cults, Children of God had wild ideas, and they foretold the coming of a dictator called the Antichrist, the rise of a one world government, and its eventual overthrow by Jesus in the second coming.
Right.
Berg, quote, urged a return to the early Christian community described in the Bible's Book of Acts, in which believers lived together and shared all. Berg founded this movement in 1968 from a coffee shop in Huntington Beach, California. And in 1969, after having a revelation that, quote, California would be hit by a major earthquake, he left the area and, quote, took his followers on the road.
Every great cult was born from a coffee shop.
I mean, that's where I'm going to start mine from. Mm. So members founded communes in various cities, and at its height, the cult had tens of thousands of followers. It was quite popular. Mm-hmm. Berg would communicate with his followers by writing them letters.
I mean, I will say letter writing is a forgotten art.
It is. I mean, we did say, because our friend Alex has come off social media, I was like, how are you going to send her memes? You could send them in the post.
I could, couldn't I?
Which I really like the thought of.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be not.
I might train a pigeon.
Yeah, or train a pigeon.
Get there a bit quicker probably than Royal Mail.
Yeah, but with a pigeon, the little notes on the legs are tiny. You wouldn't be able to fit a meme in there.
Just make it. Maybe it'll be like when they used to serialise stories way back in like the 1800s and stuff. It could be a part of a meme, and then she'll have to put them together like a puzzle.
I love that idea. Love that. And then it's interactive.
Yeah.
By way of pigeon. So by 1972, apparently Children of God had 130 communities around the world, and by the mid-70s had colonies in around 70 countries. So it was quite far-reaching. Yeah. The cult was known as the Children of God from 68 to 77, then the Family of Love from 78 to 81, and the cult has gone on to be known by several more names, perhaps to escape the controversy surrounding their nefarious practices, which included female members being encouraged to, quote, show God's love through sexual relationships with potential converts. The cult was accused of sexually abusing and raping minors within the group, and there was considerable evidence to support these claims, including reports of sexual abuse from former members. So, yeah. Their beliefs and practices have supposedly changed over the years, and the cult is still going today, but they're known as the Family International now, and it's actually Berg's wife who runs it. And she refers to herself as Queen.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can tell from my lack of saying anything, because I'm not allowed to swear.
Yeah.
How I feel.
It's so beyond sort of normal thought process, but I thought it was really important to give the information to describe River's upbringing.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And, you know, the fact that you said at the beginning, they don't sound like they were from Jewish or Catholic background, they did really change. So according to an interview River Phoenix gave to Details magazine in 1991, he was raped at the age of 4 whilst being part of the Children of God. He was later quoted in an article published in Esquire in 94 as having said, they're disgusting, they're ruining people's lives. The family eventually saw sense and left the cult in 1977, but there was enough time there that obviously damage was done.
Yes. Very difficult to undo.
That's the thing, and I think if you want to go off and join a cult, fine. But when you're then taking children along who don't have a choice in it...
It's brainwashing. It's brainwashing. It's coercive control.
Completely.
You know, it's... Well, there's so many things you can say it is. The fact that you can then be okay with your child getting raped.
It's crazy. I watched this documentary which was about loads of different cults, and there was some stuff about Children of God in there, and it was awful.
I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a cult where they didn't allow that kind of thing, I think.
Oh, my cult won't.
Well, no.
Obviously, my cult is not nefarious.
No.
we might grow weed somewhere. I'm not saying we will. We might. So I want to go back to his acting. So one day, River, Joaquin, Summer and Rain were singing for Spare Change in Westwood, California. So they're back in the States now. When they were spotted by...
where were they before?
So they were with the cult. They kind of moved all over the place, and they started off in Venezuela. But they ended up moving to lots of different places.
Right, okay.
Which is another reason why there was no formal education, because they moved around so much. So...
they would have wanted to be, like, the cult would have wanted them to be educated to doctrine and all of that lot, rather than following a mainstream. It would have been a
very filtered education, wouldn't it? So they were spotted by talent agent Iris Burton. Apparently she was so charmed by the family that she soon went on to represent the 4 siblings. And River began acting in commercials, and it wasn't long before he and his siblings were signed by Paramount Pictures.
Ooh.
In 1982, River appeared on his first TV show, and he went on to appear in numerous TV movies and shows before becoming a film actor in October of 1984, alongside Ethan Hawke in a big-budget science fiction film called The Explorers.
Oh.
Obviously, we all know Stand By Me. If you don't, for goodness sake, go and watch it. Have you watched
Mark.
Stand By Me?
We both looked straight over to him.
So nearly swore
They
then.
find a dead body.
It is just one of those films that it is a cult classic.
Yeah,
it is.
You
awesome.
have to watch it.
And it's got great actors in it. So Stand By Me cemented River Phoenix as a household name, and he was really young when he did that. So he was very much a child actor, child performer, as were a lot of his siblings. So although River thrived as an actor, his true passion was actually music.
Yeah.
He was a singer, songwriter, and accomplished guitarist, and he taught himself how to play the guitar from the age of 4.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah. He put together a band called Alika's Attic in 1987, which included his sister Rain, but the group actually disbanded in 1992.
I wonder if that's where Alicia's Attic got their
Do you know what? I'm annoyed at myself because I kept meaning to check that. And then as I was researching this, I went down so many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
There are so many articles saying so many different things. And I ended up forgetting to see if Alicia's Attic is named after Alika's Attic, but I reckon it probably is. I'm surmising that it is.
Have we looked to see when Alicia's Attic started? Because obviously they were big in the 90s.
90s. So that would have made sense as almost like a tribute to River. So River collaborated with Flea and John Frusciante from Red Hot Chili Peppers, among others, and Johnny Depp was in amongst that as well, because obviously Johnny's his first love was always music as well. From a selfish point of view, I've always been really drawn to River Phoenix's story. I don't know why. There's just a vibe about him, and I've just found it quite sort of intriguing, you know, in the same way as Kurt Cobain, really.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, you know, they were so young when they died, it's just, there's a weird air.
Members of the 27 Club?
No.
No,
River was younger.
Old. He was younger?
Mm-hmm. I will go on.
Yeah,
to explain.
okay. Yeah, sorry.
River was a dedicated animal rights and environmental activist. He was a vegan from the age of 7.
I'm on the vegans.
Some sources say vegetarian, but more sources said vegan.
Okay.
And I know that other family members are vegan, so it makes sense. And he was a prominent spokesperson for PETA. Mm-hmm. It's not PETA, is it?
It's PETA.
He was actually awarded their humanitarian award in 1992 for his fundraising efforts.
Oh.
River financially aided many other environmental and humanitarian organisations, and he actually bought 800 acres of endangered rainforest in Costa Rica. Alaska's Attic often played benefits for well-known and local charities as well. So he did a lot of charity work, which was really lovely.
Very philanthropic.
Definitely.
Philanthropic.
River dated Martha Plimpton from 1982. They met whilst filming The Mosquito Coast, but you probably would know her from The Goonies.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's where I knew her from.
Yeah.
Obviously, she did loads of films, but that's kind of probably one of her most well-known one. a lot of people say that she was the love of his life, even though they were so young. But their relationship ended in 1989 due to River's drug use. Plimpton later said, "When we split up, a lot of it was that I had learnt that screaming, fighting and begging wasn't going to change him. He had to change himself and he didn't want to yet." Now, there are varying reports ascertaining to River's drug use. Some say that he was not a regular drug user and it was more of a sporadic thing. But then there's...
social, recreational.
Yeah.
Not recreational, like social.
Some were suggesting he wasn't dependent on drugs. But then there's accounts from friends claiming he was. And if his girlfriend is splitting up with him because of it, it seems to me like it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Rather than sporadic. But yeah, it really depends who you ask, that everything says something different. But allegedly, he had actually been sober in the months leading up to his death while filming Dark Blood. So there we are. However, when River Phoenix returned to Los Angeles after filming Dark Blood in New Mexico, according to his friend Bob Forrester, who is the author of Running with Monsters, River spent the days leading up to his death, which was in late October, on a drug binge with John Frusciante, consuming heroin and cocaine. Bob wrote, "The drug routine stayed pretty consistent for all of us. First, smoke crack or shoot coke directly into a vein for that 90-second electric brain bell jangle. Then shoot heroin to get a grip and come down enough to be able to carry on a conversation for a few minutes before you start the cycle again." I mean, that sounds really hardcore to me. It doesn't really sound like sporadic drug taking at that point.
That's intense.
Very intense. So it's really important to say that there is a hell of a lot of mystery surrounding the true events of that night and what happened to River. And reports literally vary from witness to witness.
The thing is, the witnesses, if they're out and about, as they were, they might have been...
Well, that's the thing. You've got different people's perspectives as well, haven't you? But I think it adds to the tragedy of the whole situation. The people who were closely involved at the time and who were literally right there, which was Rain and Joaquin and his girlfriend Samantha Mathis, Johnny Depp, Flea and John Frusciante, didn't speak publicly about the incident for nearly 30 years. Until Samantha did an interview with The Guardian in 2018. So I'm going to start with her version from an interview that she did with The Guardian. There's a lot of surmising that the reason that they didn't speak about it is because they didn't want to be implicated.
Right.
That they didn't want blame put on anybody. There are so many versions, I literally couldn't fit them in here. I've sort of gone for the one that I believe the most, and then one that is actually quite different.
Okay.
Which is...
Is that from one of the witnesses as
Samantha, his girlfriend at the time.
What, that's the one that's different?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
It is different, and alarmingly to me. But so on the evening of October 30th in 1993, River Phoenix arrived with Samantha, who was his girlfriend at the time, his brother Joaquin and sister Rain at the Viper Room on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Now, just to remind you, this is Samantha's version from an interview she did with The Guardian in 2018. She thought they were just dropping off Joaquin and Rain, then heading straight to her house. But when they arrived, River said to Samantha, "There are some people playing music tonight in the club who want me to play with them. That's okay, right?" So they stayed. Samantha goes on to say, "I knew something was wrong that night, something I didn't understand. I didn't see anyone doing drugs, but he was high in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. I was in over my head." Samantha explains that she went to use the bathroom in the club, and when she came out, she saw what she thought was a ruckus between River and another man. Then the two of them were pushed out of the club's side door by a bouncer. And when she went outside after them, she saw River drop to the ground and go into convulsions.
The Viper Room owned by Johnny Depp?
It is owned by Johnny Depp. It was part owned by Johnny Depp at the time.
Yeah.
He no longer has part ownership of it. But yes, he was part owner at the time. So Samantha believes that the drugs that killed him were given to him in the Viper room, but at the time she didn't know what he'd taken. So she frantically tried to find out from the other man, and he replied with, "Leave him alone, you're spoiling his high." When I was researching the sources of who this man is, I will actually go on to put two and two together, and you'll be like, because I don't want to get sued by anybody, but his identity is very much alluded to, and I know who I think it is, but it is reported in another version which I'll share. So you've got this man saying this, which isn't the best. So Samantha goes on to tell how she tried desperately to get back into the club to get help, and the door was shut. So when they were, pushed out, the door shut behind them. So she ran around to the main entrance and found his brother and sister who tried to get help, and Joaquin called 911. Remember, at this time, there weren't
no mobile
phones around. It's 1993. Another perspective from his aforementioned friend Bob Forrester, who was also at the club that night, recounts how River tapped him on the shoulder, looked very pale, and then said, "Bob, I don't feel so good. I think I'm ODing." Supposedly, Bob offered to take River home, but he said no. Bob went on to say, "I tried to reassure him. I don't think it's an OD. You can stand and you can talk." Moments later, River started convulsing outside. Bob says he still feels guilt for dismissing River's worries so casually. So, I mean, it's very likely that this happened. I don't know really how it fits into the story, because when I go on to say the other version, which I believe more than the others, it doesn't seem to sort of really correlate. But yeah, it's, already you've got two completely different stories, which is just like, well, there's not even...
One of you's lying.
There's not even a crossover in those two accounts.
There's not even one bit of similarity.
Exactly. And obviously, from what I can tell, Bob's been quite honest. He's honest about the drugs.
Bob.
And he's an honest Bob. And he said he feels guilty about this. So... why would you make that up? Why would you make yourself look bad?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really strange.
Something's fishy.
So, another witness account.
And is this the one that you believe?
Parts of it.
Okay.
It's another witness account that I found on a site called El Pay, which is widely believed to be the most reliable story. Comes from Gavin Edwards in the book Last Night at the Viper Room, River Phoenix and the Hollywood He Left Behind, which I'd actually quite like to read. It sounds quite interesting. He states that a guitarist friend gave him, River, a cup and said, "Hey, Riv, drink this. It will make you feel fabulous." River didn't know what it was, but since he had taken his friend to rehab twice, he could guess that it wouldn't be ginger ale. It was actually a mix of cocaine and heroin in the drink. River immediately felt bad after he'd drunk it, saying, What did you give me? What the hell is in here?" He shouted. To calm down, he took Valium. He then vomited on himself and on the table. Then he collapsed in his chair unconscious. Apparently, nothing happened as quickly as it should have. It took Joaquin more than half an hour to call the ambulance at the suggestion of the doorman.
Oh.
And allegedly, no one warned the paramedics about what River had actually taken. This is the story I always remember hearing.
Yeah, I remember the about him going unconscious in his chair.
See, I didn't remember that bit. I thought it literally just all happened outside. But it seems...
No, see, I think I remember that detail.
Yeah, and I mean, this seems to be a lead up. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And
but you think with ODs, they hit quite quickly.
But then, is it different because it's a drink?
Well, exactly. It's like, you said about earlier, they would inject cocaine
Into their veins.
Yeah. That's not a standard use of cocaine.
No, exactly.
So it depends. Different modes of taking drugs will probably hit differently.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what he's done before, just that kind of tipped it over the edge. Like he may have been developing health problems because of the previous drug use. Sometimes, you know, you can be a drug user for however many years and not die, or you can be a drug user for like the littlest amount of time, but then it's gonna, you know, then you do die very quickly.
Yeah.
It's dependent on the individual.
Depending on the individual, I think it is a little bit of a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
In some
Oh,
situations.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about when, I know this is different because, you know, they're saying that there's drugs in this drink, but if you think about when you drink, you're not instantly blotto. It takes a minute for it to kind of get absorbed into the body, whereas, you know, before when they're injecting things, that is going to be more of an instantaneous hit.
But then with drugs, it tends to be, unless you're super microdosing, instantaneous.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but like I said, this is the story I remember of the fact that nobody told the paramedics what he'd taken, which obviously that didn't help matters.
Well, no.
And the fact that it took a while for them to call emergency services, if that is in fact what happened. You know, this is surmising because no one actually knows. The only person that knows is River, and he's sadly no longer with us. But I just always remember that particular, that it being a bit nefarious behind the scenes.
Yeah, questionable.
Yes, definitely.
Like, there's a lack of truth here somewhere.
There is somewhere. It's not adding up. So there is a more detailed version of this account, which was from another source. Honestly, there's so many articles about this. And a lot of them say the same things. Yeah. But then when you do a deep dive, you find all these little things from people and books, and you're like, hang on a minute, I hadn't heard that before. But yeah, could have literally gone on.
You literally have to kind of stop yourself before you get overwhelmed by it, because it's like, I can't do this episode anymore because there's too much information.
Exactly. And I would always sort of say when we're doing these cases, if people want to look more into them, go and do your own research and make up your own minds. Yeah. This is just from sort of like our point of view or my point of view. Then supported by Ali or questioned by her, you know? So allegedly, Joaquin and Rain were in LA and wanted to go to the Viper Room. So at this time, River and his siblings, they actually weren't living in LA. They were living outside of LA because of the temptation of the city.
Right.
So apparently River was in a hotel and Joaquin and Rain were visiting.
Right, okay.
But they were underage, Joaquin and Rain, and would need a celebrity escort to get them into the club. So Samantha volunteered, and River actually planned to stay in. But he got a call from his friend Flea, from Red Hot Chili Peppers, inviting him to play on stage at the club. So River grabbed his guitar and ran to meet Samantha, Joaquin and Rain at the Viper Room. So according to this, they didn't all go together. He went afterwards. Who knows? But when River arrived, he was told by Flea that actually there was no room on the stage for him, and he couldn't play after all. Viper Club isn't a big club.
No.
So he hung out with his friends, basically, including John Frusciante, who had recently quit the Chili Peppers. I don't know if it was because of his heroin addiction, but that was likely linked to him sort of leaving.
A bit crazy because Anthony Kiedis was a massive drug user.
I mean,
Under the Bridges about...
Yeah.
His book is really good, by the way.
It's another one I really want to read.
I've got it.
Can I borrow it?
Yeah.
Thanks. So, knowing that River was disappointed that he couldn't play on stage, John Frusciante gave River a drink and said, "Drink this, Riv. It'll make you feel fabulous." So that's the second time we've heard that now.
Yeah.
River knocked back the cocktail, which turned out to be a mixture of cocaine and heroin. After downing the drink, River vomited on himself and the table and passed out. So this is very similar to the other account.
It corroborates.
When he came to, he began trembling violently and asked, "What is this?" before he took a Valium to try and calm himself down. He's obviously freaking out. You know, it is much more common in America, so if you're freaking out, take a Valium. If I had them to hand, I'd probably take them more often.
Yeah, but we popping them like Smarties.
That's the thing, we can't get them very easily in this country. So apparently River couldn't feel his tongue or his mouth and was desperate to get out of the club. It's said that Samantha helped carry him outside, where he then collapsed and started to have seizures. John Frusciante told a panicked Samantha to leave River alone and that she was spoiling his high.
I'm really upset if that was him.
When I believe it was him, and the amount of articles I wrote that said...
That you wrote?
No, that were written that
said it was him.
Said it was him. River's dad believes it was him.
Okay.
But obviously it's all allegedly.
The thing is, it was just rife back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people ignored the dangers more then.
And the thing, you know, that I found out that kind of made me more mad at this man, if it was him, was the fact that River had actually got him into rehab and he tried to help him get over heroin many times.
And then he's just done that.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So,
allegedly, again, there was a delay in calling 911, which, the last report said. Apparently, people weren't sure whether to call their agents or paramedics due to River's celebrity status.
I mean, really? Really?
And they watched him thrash helplessly on the ground for nearly 10 minutes before a paparazzi convinced Joaquin to call 911. By the time they arrived on the scene, River was unresponsive and was rushed to hospital. This, honestly, as I was reading this, it just really made me want to cry because I just feel like this could... I mean, maybe even if the services had been called
the thing
earlier,
is, you've got more chance of a survival if the emergency services are called immediately.
and know what's going on.
Well, yeah, they need to know because then, stomach pumping.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know what it would do. But,
I've never heard of this situation before.
No. The only thing I can go by is Pulp Fiction when she...
gets the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But that's she snorts heroin in that, doesn't she? Which heroin, you do not do.
No. Well, don't do any of this.
Don't do any
of this stuff.
Do not. No, don't take drugs.
I know.
Oh.
I know. It's so... The thing is, it just makes me want to read more and really establish what I think happened. Because I know what I think, but I think, I need more evidence.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think if I was to read more about it, I would just be more angry.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Because there's failings. I mean, with the people that are supposed to care about him.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah. And, the fact that one person can be a mistake, several people together not doing the right thing. What the actual...
Why?
Yeah. So.
Oh.
So
didn't John Frusciante rejoin? Yeah. Okay. I remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So this.
I was questioning myself then. I was like,
This was 93, so this was pretty early.
I can't remember the scar tissue. I know it was really good.
Yeah.
But it focuses a lot on Anthony Kiedis.
When I read it, I'll remind you.
Thank you.
I actually can't wait to read that.
Yeah.
So I read in one article that as this tragedy unfolded at the Viper Room, the band P were performing their track Michael Stipe, which featured River in the lyrics. And supposedly P was singing about River as he was overdosing outside on the pavement.
That's creepy.
Which is really creepy. I only found that in one article. Mm-hmm. So who knows if that is the truth. But yeah, there we go. Whatever the specific details of his last moments, River went into full cardiac arrest by the time he arrived at the hospital that night. And despite efforts to revive him, he was declared dead in the early hours on Thursday, the 31st of October, which was Halloween. He had died from an overdose of heroin and cocaine, and he was 23 years old. Scott Carrier, a spokesperson for the coroner's office, told the LA Times that the cocaine and morphine levels were both high enough that either would have been lethal by themselves. Side note, when the body metabolises heroin, it shows up on drug tests as morphine, apparently. I knew you'd know that. I didn't know that. So I learnt something new.
And also depending on, after death, cocaine can metabolise and something to do with metabolites and things like that. So it can look either more and things like that, or less. Oh, off the top of my head, I can't remember. But yeah, no, it can change.
That's so interesting because obviously, there's a lot of reliance on science. But then when it's changing,
because there are changes in the body, things like bacteria, it can. And also, I mean, not the case with River, but say if a body is decomposing and there's drugs in the system,
yes,
it can look like less because, of leakage.
Yeah.
Obviously the blood isn't pumping anymore, so where it's got from can be the concentration of basic drugs in post-mortem blood samples all increase after death. But then also, if there's leakage out of the body, that will be, then things will come out and whatnot, and decomposition. But that's obviously when the body is decomposing and decaying, so that will happen as well.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Supposedly, the autopsy report stated there was no drug residue or inflammation found in his nasal passages, no needle marks on his body, and no alcohol found in his blood, which suggests...
The hell was it mixed with?
Well, Lord only knows. So that suggests he didn't snort anything.
No.
He didn't
inject
that night, and he hadn't drunk any alcohol. So the only thing that could have killed him was that drink. Over 30 years on, because River's mother refused an investigation, I don't know why you would do that, and those present refused to give details.
But surely they would have had to.
I thought so, but...
Police, it's an unexpected death. It's a sudden death.
Mm-hmm. The facts of that night remain up for debate until this day. That's why there's so many theories. There's sort of discussion groups on the internet with conspiracy theories, all sorts. There's so much out there, it really, really is. But yeah, theories and rumours aside, the sad truth is that a young, talented actor and musician needlessly died that night.
Yeah.
And the world became a darker place without him in it. He was obviously a very good actor, very talented musician. He was so caring.
He cared about the world.
He cared about animals. I mean,
his heart was in the right place.
Yeah. There's one story I read when he was going out with... Martha. When they were he obviously took her out to a restaurant. She ordered seafood and he left the restaurant in tears because he was just horrified by the fact that, he'd grown up not eating any kind of animals or anything alive. So he was very, very passionate about it. And I think he would have gone on to do... Look how much he did in a short space of time.
Look at what he could have done.
Exactly. And, there were, in other articles, he didn't love acting. He loved the music. But he wanted to do a few more films, this is allegedly, so that he could make enough money to put his last sibling through college. So he was basically trying to make sure all his family were taken care of before he could then sort of adjust his career decisions.
It's such a waste of a life.
And that just shows you how amazing he was. Yeah. And he was beautiful, absolutely stunning. And he had a really hard upbringing. And for him to do what he did, and he could have been really selfish with his money, but he didn't. He thought about everybody else. He bought rainforest so it could be protected. He gave loads of money and did loads of fundraising. Like, I think he seemed like a really incredible person.
He could have been one of those celebrities that you could look up to.
Definitely.
Not like a false idol.
Definitely. And yes,
not an actual hero.
No, exactly. He was actually, like, this kind of person is the kind of person who should be influencing the masses. And, you know, it's so many reports suggest he did drugs that it's likely that he did, in whatever form that took, whether it was sporadic and social or whether it was more of a problem. But regardless of that, like, you know, the fact he was in Hollywood and he was in that,
you get sucked in. It's like a vacuum.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, he whether he was doing drugs or not, like, you know, the fact he was helping his friend,
and then that friend
get into rehab, and apparently it's more than once he got him into rehab. And, you know, I think if he'd have gone too far with his addiction, I don't think he'd have been in a place to do that for somebody else. Maybe he would, I don't know, I'm completely surmising.
It's really difficult because I know how much Richard tried to help people with their addictions but couldn't get hold of his own.
True, and I know the same was said of Matthew Perry as well. Yeah. And River starred in, it was either a TV film or a film with him.
Yeah.
He acted.
That's the thing, they often, you know, they don't think they can help themselves, so they help other people, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, that when I read, because the first article I found was the one by Samantha, because it's the most recent, in 2018. And then I read an article talking about the article.
Oh, really?
And it was saying, you know, basically really laying into it, saying there were so many details not mentioned, and it literally just flitted over it, and it's quite different to everybody else's account.
That looks like someone trying to save face.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it was a guilty conscience that made her come forward.
Whereas with Bob, he's quite open about how guilty he feels.
He's like, this happened, we were doing all this gnarly stuff, I said this, I'm rubbish.
Yeah.
I would be more inclined to believe him.
You don't openly admit to something like that unless, you know, you feel like it.
Exactly. But so
feel that way, sorry.
Her article was the first one I saw, and I was desperately trying to find out who this man was.
Yeah.
And then as I read more articles, I was like, oh my God, it's allegedly John Frusciante.
But then, you know, I'm only, because I love that band, I'm only, you know, I'm disappointed because I love that. It's quite weird. Like, the behaviour doesn't surprise me. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. And the thing is, drugs change people, don't they?
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
So I did have an interesting spooky pop culture fact about River. So River Phoenix was actually due to star in the 1994 film Interview with a Vampire.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously died in 93. But sadly, he died 2 weeks before filming commenced. He was set to play the role of the interviewer, which Christian Slater ended up playing. And Christian Slater donated his entire salary, which I believe was $250,000, to two of River's favourite charitable organisations, Earth Save and Earth Trust.
Oh my God.
So he didn't even take his salary, which I was just like, oh, I love Christian Slater as well. So I was just like, yay. But this is honestly, I mean, we've read some sad cases, but for some reason, this feels like one of the most heartbreaking cases we've actually covered.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's because I was finding out things I didn't know, I hadn't heard before. It was like, oh,
yeah,
you know, kind of gets you. But yeah, I definitely encourage people to do their own research, because everyone's going to have a different opinion, you know.
And there's always 3 versions of the truth.
That's it. So that was Cults, Road Trips and Heartbreak, the tragic death of River Phoenix. Which I'm really sorry, because it's made me depressed, like, writing that. And I 2 days,
love.
It took me 2 days to do that case, because there was just so much stuff, and I was like, I really want to include everything.
I wish I could write a case in 2 days. takes me forever.
But yeah, it's makes me want to just go and watch loads of his films. But so it's 2025, so that it's over 30 years ago he died.
That's crazy.
Which again is mad to think. Doesn't seem that long ago.
No.
At all.
Time that I don't, well, what was it Einstein said? Was it Einstein? Time's relative?
Yeah. Because then when did Kurt Cobain die? Was that 94?
I'm not good with dates.
It was May. I'm sure it's 94. But so that was only supposedly 94, yes. Yeah. Oh, 5th of April, 94. So it was only a year later that he died. Because I remember that. I remember that being on the news. I don't remember so much. I remember hearing things about this case, about River Phoenix. And I remember I'd obviously seen his films, but I don't remember seeing on the news. But yeah, it's makes me think a certain way about some people.
Yeah. I'm feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, love.
Yeah, sorry. Brought down the atmosphere all around. But yeah. Don't drink heroin and cocaine.
Don't do heroin or cocaine.
Don't do heroin and cocaine. Like, no good can come of it, clearly.
No.
It's just...
We all know how I feel about Class A's and Class B's.
Yeah. What's weed now?
Oh, please don't tell me that's a B.
They keep changing it.
It was a C.
Yeah, I think it is a C again. We're all right with weed anyway. We don't...
Well,
in moderation.
Very moderately.
Very moderate. Only very occasional use. A B, is it, again?
Oh, sorry, my stomach's
I
rumbling.
heard that. That was quite loud.
Sorry.
It's all right.
There's something paranormal going on in there.
That is very paranormal.
There's a growl. No, it's just Ali's tummy.
Just Ali's tummy.
Tummy.
Do you happen to have a get in the bin?
Come back to me.
My get in the bin is drugs. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm on that.
Class A drugs can go in the bin.
I think people who have sort of listened from the beginning, or even not at the beginning, but not that long ago, I think they know the story with Rich. You're right
really
there, dear.
Sorry, Rich wouldn't mind that I was interrupting this with the fact that my cup was stuck to the
Coaster.
I was going to say cup holder. It's not cup holder.
Cup holder. Yeah. So we all know how I feel about drugs.
I think that's possibly
some
why...
of your exes as well.
Oh, criminy. I think that's probably why this felt so...
Well, there's always going to be things that affect you differently or because of personal experience. So things like that, when I see it as a waste of a life.
Yeah.
Like, I know what my brother was like before.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the clasp of his drug use and stuff like that. And it just, it is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking.
And it's needless.
Completely.
Don't get me wrong, there are circumstances that people, you know, to try and numb pain, to forget, it starts off innocent and then it just, you know, addiction happens.
That's it, addiction.
Yeah, the thing is there doesn't always have to be something that influences, you know, you taking them. It can just be like a recreational thing, like, yeah, why not? Let's boost the mood.
Yeah, and it
party mood, and then it just...
Yeah, or it just kind of works its way into your life.
Drugs are evil.
Yeah.
They are evil. So yeah, my get in the bin, I'm going to steal yours as drugs.
That's fine. I'll definitely go on that.
Mark? Bin the 9-to-5 life. Yeah, he's not very satisfied at the moment, bless him.
Have you got a pocket? Get in your pocket?
Get in my pocket. The way that some people, despite their own troubles, can still have love for life and the world.
Definitely. Absolutely. I'm going to put in my pocket veganism.
Hell yeah.
We're not preachy, but right now we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Woo. Vegan. How'd you know a vegan? We told you within the first 5 minutes.
So Goober's pocket, getting his pocket is Starbucks.
Or Startbucks.
You have to start the day with a Starbucks.
Yeah, hence Startbucks. I like it. It's new. Yeah.
I do too.
It's we are gold members, so we've got the app. So we collect stars, which lead up to free drinks.
What does it mean that you're a gold member?
Well, it used to be that you wouldn't have to pay extra for like things like different milks.
I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to pay extra for that anyway.
Well, they're free for Starbucks now.
Good.
Yeah, and extra syrups and things like that. But it was this weekend, I think, or just today. It's double stars. So we're like, right, I'm getting us a Starbucks on the way here.
Yeah. What's your... Oh no, you've done your get in the pocket.
Yeah. You haven't. Yes, you have.
Veganism
and Starbucks, yeah.
Random fact, that's what
come back to me for that one, please.
Oh my gosh. Random fact. I don't know. I haven't written any down for any of the episodes today.
No, do you know, I was thinking of them, and then I just didn't write any down. I will go, and I will say one of my favourite songs in the entire world is Zombie by the Cranberries.
Oh, I love that random fact.
Fantastic. If it is not my favourite, my absolute favourite, I mean, it's up there. Right now, I can't think of anything else apart from Don't Speak by No Doubt, but yeah, Zombie by the Cranberries.
Goob's random fact is the first song he learnt to play on the guitar was The Click by Good Charlotte. I still don't have a random fact. Oh yeah, I do. So I used to have a guitar because I really wanted to learn to play guitar. And I bought myself one lesson and then I couldn't afford to buy any more.
On that note, I had a guitar. I was taking lessons. I wouldn't always go to them and I'd keep the money my parents would give for my lessons, and I'd buy cigarettes.
I mean, that's quite... I would say it's rock and roll, but it's not.
I was a terrible child. I was an awful daughter. Awful. I've changed somewhat, thank goodness.
Yes, she has.
But yeah, no, I was horrible. Honestly, I am. I think that's part of my anxiety and stuff, is the amount of guilt I feel for the things that I have done.
Could be worse. You know.
Yeah, but you know, yeah, my mum doesn't deserve that.
I mean, you can't do anything about it now. It's in the past.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the thanks today?
Yes. Massive thanks to Mark, Goober, Ghibli Goo, Giblets, Gilbert, at Park Lane Studios for sound, production, general management of us two weirdos, videos, making the content sound professional. No, making the sound professional even when the content isn't.
I literally did the same thing in the last episode. And then if you want to listen to us, watch us, buy our merchandise, email us, go to linktree/Cars of the Macabre, and everything is on there.
Yeah.
And then also, if you're going to watch and listen, like, subscribe, download, comment, share, all the things.
All the things. All dem things.
I need to recover now, so until next time,
stay spooky, bitches!